questions and the programs that are available through Adoption Network. Although we are not a lender, we work with outside lending institutions, but the programs that are available through those partners, if you will, of ours, and share with us some of the parameters of those programs. Do you want to start with the adoption loan, Jeff?
Yeah, Julie. Well, basically, we have a number of programs available, and one thing I do want to stress is right now with the economy the way it has been, it is a challenge, quite honestly, to find financing and to set up programs for our clients. So we feel very fortunate and to be able to have these programs available. And one of the questions I do get is, are these programs available for clients adopting outside of Adoption Network Law Center? And I do want to just clarify that these are programs strictly for clients working with the Adoption Network Law Center right now. We can offer these out to clients to go to other entities that they're working with. They are set up for clients that we are contracted with and we are working with. So I just wanted to make sure there was some clarification out there. But basically the two programs that we primarily have are term loans, which are traditional term loan. Most of them are set up for a 60-month term. It is flexible. It can be shorter if necessary, but primarily the loans are set up for 60 months. There is a fixed monthly payment, a fixed interest rate. There's no collateral required on any of the programs that we do offer, whether it's a term loan or a line of credit, and none of them have prepayment penalties. The other option is that more of a line of credit option or credit card program, which, as anyone working with or using that type of financing on other programs would know, you pay as you use it, so the payment can be flexible or can be, can increase as you use the line and draw on more of the line. But again, the programs that we do offer, the credit card programs, are almost along the lines of the healthcare or medical expense cards that are out there, and we are the only adoption entity approved to offer those programs through one of the largest carriers in the country for purposes of adopting. So it's something that we're proud to be able to offer to our clients.
Well, that's great. So when we're thinking about questions that come along with financing, certainly we think the first one, or what you shared with me, Jeff, was the first one up to bat is, well, how much can I borrow? So maybe you can address that for us.
Yeah. Well, in the larger program that I touched on real quickly, the term program is actually a program approved up to $50,000. So these are loans ranging from $5,000 to $50,000, unsecured, no collateral required. And they are eligible, the funds are eligible for use on anything pertaining to the adoption. So that is, as Chris touched on earlier, those travel expenses and meals when you're traveling to get your baby after the birth, the home studies, the outside attorney fees that you might have, anything pertaining to the adoption, these funds can be used for. Our average with the credit union that we currently work through this program with, our average loan size is approved is just over $26,000. So, that's substantial amounts that we get approved on a regular basis, and I can't speak more highly about the program and the partner that we have to use this program through. With the lines of credit and that more traditional credit card, these are definitely a smaller amount. The maximum would probably be $20,000. The funds are not available to be used on that broader range of expenses relating to the adoption. These funds are eligible for use only on the services of Adoption Network Law Center. So they cannot be used for those other fees that might come up, such as the home study and the birth mother expenses, or other outside attorney fees, the travel expenses. It can only be used for fees for the Adoption Network Law Center services. I know the second question I get mostly, and it's on this slide, is interest rates. And typically the interest rates right now range from about 8.9% up to about 15%, 14.9%. And it's, again, varies by program and varies by approval. But for the most part, for the term programs that we have right now, the interest rates are on the lower end. It's 8.9 or 9.9% currently, and then on the term, the lines of credit or credit cards, it's the higher amounts.
How long does it take typically to get approval, Jeff, for a loan?
Again, by program, it's a little bit different. On the term loans, it is a little bit longer process. It's not an automated computer-generated decision, so it is a little bit more lengthy of a process, and it typically takes about 72 hours to get a decision back. It can be shorter, it can be longer, depending on the individual circumstances, and that's certainly the benefit of it, is that each one is really looked at and underwritten on an individual case-by-case basis. However, with the credit card option, it can be an instant decision where it could be a 5-minute decision once we input an application. So, you know, it does vary, but we say typically it's 72 hours.
Okay, great. So you made mention of the current economy and the current, you know, situation and kind of accessing some of these programs. And I know that you recently had an experience with, you know, a couple where they kind of reached outside to see what they could secure on their own versus the programs that we offer. And, you know, thought it might be good if we took a look at that.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. This couple came through, applied for a $35,000 adoption loan. Very high end of the credit score, so they would be typically what any lender would say, you know, a prime credit customer. They had no banking relationship at all with with the credit union that we currently put them through or that we worked with. They were approved for $35,000. They received the 8.9% interest rate. They decided to just go out and look and talk to their bank. Went to a bank that they banked with for 18 years plus, a very large institution that anyone would recognize right offhand. Basically called me back a few days later after they did this and said, you know what, we were only able to get $10,000 approved, and the interest rate was almost 17%. I think it was 16.9%. So, they said, we're just going to go ahead and go through your program, and we really didn't realize, what we had there. And I hear this more and more, and I certainly do encourage people to go out and talk to, these are programs we have in place to help our clients. Does not mean it's, they're required to use these programs. I would encourage people to go out and look for other options, talk to their lenders, but it seems like more and more, especially, again, with the economy the way it is, they're just not out there. The programs aren't out there, or if they are, the loan amounts are just, pretty insignificant when you look at the overall picture and the expenses, again, that Chris outlined for us. So, I would encourage you and look at, to go look at your outside sources, but by all means, we're pretty proud of the programs that we have in place, and, think they're a pretty significant offer.
Great. So those loans do sound pretty good, Jeff. So now moving on to the next set of questions, after we've recognized that we've got a pretty good opportunity there, what does it take to qualify? Can you step us through, whether or not we have to be a homeowner, what's that credit score need to look like, is there a certain debt to ratio income, what if I've got a bankruptcy? Kind of walk us through some of that.
Yeah, well, all those questions are very typical. I get them on a regular basis. And again, as I've outlined, I think a significant fact that I want to really point out is that none of the programs that we have require any kind of collateral. You don't have to be a homeowner to qualify. They do not need to do the whole real estate inspection, go through all that process, and that's why it's a 72-hour, approval process versus a 30-day approval process. There is no need for appraisals, no need for inspections, anything like that. These are unsecured loans, strictly really based on, the customer's profile and credit history and credit score and all that. I do want to stress, you did ask about the credit scores. The programs that we have don't really have a minimum credit score. We have the term lender that we work with that offers the term loans does not have a minimum credit score. They stress that they do not base it strictly on credit score. They look at a number of factors, and we have clients that range, I know in the low 600s to those that are way up in the high 700s. Our average approved applicant currently through them is right around 670. But I know, as I said, that we have those clients that are lower credit scores, and they really stress that they take it on an individual basis and underwrite it each one individually. The debt-to-income ratio is a pretty significant factor in the underwriting and a big consideration. The guideline that they use for this program is about 40%. So that's a 40% debt-to-income ratio. That's taking all of your debts, adding them all up, including the payment for the adoption loan, and then dividing that by your combined income. And 40% is a pretty standard guideline in lending, but it is something that is again it's evaluated against your overall income, and they do look at the disposable income available. So you might have a higher debt-to-income ratio than that, but if you have a significant income left over, that does come into consideration. So there is flexibility there. As far as bankruptcy, they do not have any problems with past bankruptcies. Obviously, they look at it. We might have to provide a letter of explanation that they would typically want, but it doesn't necessarily preclude you right off the bat from applying. They approve clients that have had bankruptcies in the past quite regularly. They do, typically want to see that there's some reestablished credit, and it's been a little while since the bankruptcy happened. But it is certainly something that we get customers approved on a regular basis.
Great. Okay, so then actually qualifying, proof of income. What do you need to do to prepare, Jeff, to submit for one of these loans?
Yeah, our lenders typically want to see for salaried employees, they would want to see 2 recent pay stubs. And that typically would want to show, or they would want to see a year-to-date income figure on those, as well as the prior year's W-2 form. And that would be for any applicants applying that are employed. If you are self-employed, the requirements are a little different, and most of you would be pretty aware of what those are. They're pretty standard, again, in the banking industry. And that's typically 2 years prior tax returns, the complete tax returns along with all the schedules that you file, as well as a current year-to-date P&L statement, profit and loss statement. In lieu of that, if you don't have a current year-to-date profit and loss statement, they would take the current year's monthly bank statements with all pages. And it's really, again, to kind of show that year-to-date and that trend and a pattern in deposits and income flowing through the bank account.
Okay, great. And then, so wrapping up some of the remaining questions, and I'm sure some of our attendees might have more, but what about repayment? What does repayment look like? How much are those payments going to be? How long do you have to repay it?